Oh my gosh, it's Wednesday, early evening for me, middle of the afternoon for some, late in the night for others. August 14th, 2024, unless of course, you're in Australia and it's already tomorrow. Welcome to episode number 166 of Material Issues. I'm Mark Hershberger of Pop Detective Records. Joining me, as always, my very good friend, president of the International Pop Overthrow Festival. There is only one. There's only one. They broke the mold when they made him, Mr. David Bash. How you doing, my friend?
Of course they broke the mold. Look how wide I am. It couldn't hold me.
Well, the mold was broken, I think, before they poured you into it. That's the problem, man. And
that doesn't help either, yeah.
Well, we've got guests that are all
I'll be honest. I'm in a bit of pain. I've tweaked things all over my body, and I think part of it is I've been doing cardiac rehab. I mean, I haven't had a recent heart attack, but after COVID, it was very difficult for me to get back into rehab because they were only taking people who had. Mike, what are you doing? You don't have to do anything. We'll bring you up.
He's cleaning his lens like you were doing.
Anyway, they were only accepting people who had recent heart attacks, so I had to get on a waiting list. But then they finally let me in, and I've been doing it 3 days a week on the bike and the treadmill and a couple other things. And it just seems like I've been tweaking stuff. First, my arm, which still hurts. If I try to lift anything, even like a bottle of sugar-free Dr. Pepper, it actually hurts.
Well, that's you should get the real Dr. Pepper. It's lighter than the sugar-free.
Yeah, that's it. It hurts when I go like that, so don't go like that.
Don't do that.
Onion joke. Yeah. But sometimes I have to go like that.
Yeah, Carly scraped off the mold.
That's for sure. So, all right, so there's that problem. Then over the last week, I've developed tremendous back pain. I mean, it really hurts right now. So I've stopped doing my rehab. I'm going to see the doctor on Friday, and they'll probably just recommend I go to a chiropractor or something, which would be fine. But whatever it is, I have to get rid of this. It's not fun. IPO wise, we had a really fun.
Hey, Tim.
Hi, Tim. We had a really fun IPO LA, our 25th one. The bands were great.
Yeah.
The only thing I have to say, and I'm really disappointed, but at the same time, I think I understand what was going on. Attendance was really dismal, especially during the week. I think we were just hit with a few factors conspiring together. Well, conspiring makes it seem like they were doing it purposefully, but Yo is right. There are a lot of COVID cases in LA. We've had a big uptick. So either people had it or they were afraid to get it. And, you come to a small club, you're basically in a petri dish for COVID. So a lot of people just didn't want to come. That plus it was fucking hot up here. I mean, it's always hot. It's always hot during the summer in LA, of course, but it was probably about 10 degrees hotter than normal. And the third thing was the Olympics. And I know that some people say, well, who cares about the Olympics? Well, unfortunately, a lot of the fans of the bands we had, they did care. And I was hearing from people saying, no, wanted to watch the Olympics. Sorry.
Well, I was riveted to badminton. And it is pronounced badminton, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. See?
When people say it fast, you don't hear the end. But yeah, I mean, we had some great nights, Tim. The bands were awesome. It's just people weren't coming to see them. And, I've thought, I have an experimental psychology background, so I know how to isolate variables and see what was different. I mean, we used the same venue at the same time of year. The only thing that we changed was the admission from $10 to $15. But honestly, if that's what kept people away, then LA really sucks. Because we did the same thing in Chicago. We went from 10 to 15, and we had the best attendance we've ever had.
Yeah.
So I don't see why that should have been. I think it's the other things that I mentioned. And I think that next year with no Olympics and hopefully no irregular heat and COVID cases being down, keep our fingers crossed, we should have a much better attendance. But, It is what it is. And
you got IPO San Diego coming up,
we
right?
got IPO San Diego, which is just one show this year, but it's a really good one. It'll be Saturday the 17th at Black Cat Bar. And then we have IPO Vancouver, which will be our 17th one. So it's one of our longest running cities. That'll be August 29th through 31st at Lana Lou's, a venue we've used the last couple of years and we really like. So, looking forward to all that. And I'm always looking forward to going to Vancouver because it's a great city.
Yeah.
With a lot of awesome bands and great people and pretty decent record stores. That's always a factor with me. Really nice restaurants, and you're right on the beach, so
right.
the views are killer. Yeah, Rena and I both really love it up there. So
hopefully that'll.
And then we have IPOs in November in New York. Well, in order: Boston, New York, and Toronto. Mm-hmm. So obviously looking forward to that as well. So that's what we have going on. But what we have going on specifically for this show is very good friends of mine. They've been a big part of the IPO family for many years, since 1999, I believe, when John Borak told me about a CD he had bought at Pepperland Records, which is kind of a Beatles-oriented record shop, or at least it used to be, in Tustin, I believe, Tustin, California, Orange County. He had bought the CD, and he said, "David, you're really going to love this." So I don't remember how I got a copy of it, but I played it, and he was right. I did love it. It was one called "In Through and Beyond," and this is actually the rare Japanese special expanded edition. It's not a gold disc, and it's actually not really Japanese, but this one has not only the whole album, but about 1 billion bonus tracks. So I recommend that people find any copy of this album, but if you happen to find the one with a bonus track, so much the better. We'll have to ask the band if they still have any of those. So this, I was very impressed. Spoke first with Mike Simmons and told him about the festival. And he rallied the troops, and they came and played in '99, and they've played IPO almost every year since then, and not just in LA, but in a few other cities, including New York and Liverpool, several times actually. So that's been cool. A few years after In Through and Beyond, they released Bamboo Lounge. Yeah, it's their second record, and just as good, if not maybe even a little better. They, as bands do, they improved. And, then they kind of went on an album hiatus, but recently they've released a couple of them, and you've got the pictures up there.
Yeah.
I actually have the albums, but I want Mark to get into this too.
Yeah, well these are nicer, of course.
Sparkle Jets UK Best of Friends.
Yeah.
Lots of friends in the LA scene who recorded great records over the years, and Sparkle just paid tribute to them by doing versions of those band songs. It's a very, very cool collection. Available on CD and vinyl. And then the brand new one, on Big Stir Records, Box of Letters, which compiles tracks from many over the years and some recent. Oh, look, he's got the vinyl in his hand.
No, he's waving the vinyl. I got the vinyl out in the room.
Yeah, there you go. So do I, somewhere. Anyway, we've got from the band Jamie Knight and Susan West, husband and wife, great people, and Mike Simmons, another great person who, he's a jack of all trades, and like everything he does is pure genius, really, whether it's musically or technically. I mean, he's a producer. He's made videos. He's also now the head of the Huntington Beach High School music department. And when Jamie was there as well, they would put on some amazing. They would put on some amazing. Their high school students would put on some amazing performances of classic pop records.
Nice. Yeah.
So without further ado, that was a lot of ado, actually.
That was a lot of ado, yeah.
Would you please give a huge welcome to Sparkle Jets UK. Hey. Hello.
And there they are. My gosh. Wow.
Yes.
What an intro. What an new. I mean, holy cow. Good to see you, Mike. I haven't seen you in many
What up?
Many moons. But and Susan, I don't think I've ever officially met you live, but good to see you. Thanks for coming out and hanging out with us here at Material Issues. Got a lot of people commenting, especially Jackass of all trades, Sir Sparkle Jet. I mean, that's my favorite comment so far, which is a lot of ado. But welcome guys.
Yeah. Susan has one of those voices where, you know, she doesn't really need a microphone, kind of like Kenny Howe's. We give her one anyway. But, you know, when they did their cover of Crazy Horses, I knew that only Susan could pull that off. And boy, did she ever.
Jamie and I are pretty loud too, because we've had to scream over, 100 different teenagers at the same time and get their attention.
That's true.
It helped a lot, actually. It's really great for your voice.
Well, are all three of you from Orange County originally?
No, I think we're all from LA County.
Oh,
Jamie's from Chicago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
one of my favorite cities.
I'm from the San Gabriel Valley. Let's just say that.
What?
That's true.
What? You didn't know that, Susan?
Wow, I didn't read that in your memoirs.
I didn't write them, so
yeah,
stands to reason. Hi, everybody. Nice to be here. This is really cool. We've got a show right after this. Like as soon as this is done, we're headed off to play, which we almost never do. So we're kind of ditzy. That's why my brain is kind of going at the moment.
Well, you know what though, Mike, you're a man after my own heart. You have the Evian there, which is the only water that I'll drink. Actually,
it's the only one that doesn't taste like something. It tastes like nothing, which is what I want.
Right. Well said. That's perfect.
There you go. Yeah.
Well, we popped up the graphic of the new album, Box of Letters, which I've been listening to kind of nonstop for the last week. I have the vinyl in my possession as well.
More Japanese versions, aren't you?
More Japanese version, yeah. Fantastic album. I think it moves around really nicely in the screen there too. I think my first question is why do we lead the album off with the Zombies cover? What was that choice?
Well, we started making this album right after, obviously like bands do, right after Bamboo Lounge, we started working on new stuff. And right around then, that was when I first I heard friends talking about Odyssey and Oracle, and I'd not heard it. I mean, obviously I'd heard Time of the Season, but that was it, just like most people. Mm-hmm. And so it was a new thing for me. And I was like, guys, this is like the greatest thing ever, and very much listening to it nonstop for a while. And I thought, that song could be rocked up quite a bit. And I thought the message of it being like, hey, it's our time. We're going to do something really major was very kind of fit our philosophy at the time, because we were doing pretty well and we were traveling a lot, playing all over the country and in our small way, but we were doing it. And it was like, okay, let's record a version of that. In fact, we put out we kind of made we leaked Love Burn way back then. David knows this because it's on one of his comps, I think.
Yes,
but like the beginning of that track has the intro for the Zombies thing in the front of it. And I remember Jamie was like, why isn't that on Love Burn? Why'd you cut it off? I go, well, it's because it's supposed to go at the beginning of the album, Jamie, because that's how we're going to start the album, with this statement. And he was like, oh, okay. But by the 20 years on, it was just kind of like, well, the song exists and it's pretty good. Let's do it. But it had to be first if it was going to be there at all.
Yeah.
And
so this is one of in general, but you guys are a veteran band, of course, but in general, I've always felt that when a band leads off their album with a cover, they're sending a message saying, I don't know if our songs are good enough. I know that's not the case with you.
Well, people might think that. I mean, I can't really stop them. I was trying to say literally what the song says.
Yeah.
And,
I think that's the way I took it when I heard you doing it. But I did echo, because David has mentioned this before. Bands usually start off with their first or second track of the track they really want to be to represent the album. But I think I took it as you're making a statement. This is
a veteran band is going to do that. Yeah.
It's not your first thing.
Great freaking track. So I mean,
I tell kids not to be
coming in.
Well, I talk to students a lot about songwriting and album placement and what to call their tracks, especially when they're young. Like when you're young and it's your first thing, it should be very and like right to the point, right in your face. A lot of them want to start their thing with like their kind of mellow track or like a really long intro that lasts for a minute. And it's like, no, don't do that. Wait till you're famous or you're like 3 albums in, and then you have the freedom to kind of be dumb like that. So I figured we probably earned it by now. Oh, there's another cover too that you'll probably mention at the end. And there was a moment where we were kind of cramped for time on the vinyl side of things. And it was kind of like, well, we can cut them both and everything will fit really easily and we won't have any problems, or we can risk it and do it. And they just both happen to be on bookending it. And we decided we liked the tracks enough. We really loved the one at the end. So we're like, you know what, let's just try it. And we went for it. So that's why.
Yeah, that's Hey Grandma, originally done by Moby Grape. And also The Move had a great version of it. Jamie, I know you came up to when we had Peter Lewis of Moby Grape play IPO with his daughter Arwen and all of that. You came up specifically to see them. Was it your idea to do Hey Grandma because you were a big fan, or was that?
Yeah, I was definitely a big fan of Moby Grape, but the main reason is that it tied into me because we were going to play at the Parkside at IPO in San Francisco. I think it was the first IPO San Francisco. And I go, wow, since we're going to San Francisco, we should do the song. And I didn't say Moby Grape. I said, we should do this song called Hey Grandma. And I was waiting for Mike to say something because he's a totally 70s AM guy. And he knew the song. And I'm going, what? And then he thought that it was done by The Move. And I said, no, it's a Moby Grape song. He goes, well, it's also a Move song.
Yeah.
They did a great version of it for sure.
And you guys know that those 2 records would have come out, within weeks or months, like less than 6 months of each other, I think.
Right.
That's how things used to go back then. They just liked it and they started doing it in their set, and eventually they were in some studio and it got laid down. So
we had a great time with that song also because Robbie Riss was sharing a studio with Mike at that time in Fullerton. He happened to be down there. We decided to do that. Robbie was also playing in San Francisco. So he played drums on that track.
Right.
And it's so bombastic and fun. It's hard for us to stop playing it once we get started. It's a lot of fun. I think everybody can tell we have a lot of fun when we play it.
Are you gonna whip out the 12-minute jam version of it one day? That would really bring us back to like early 70s.
Yeah.
Outdoor festival rock.
There might have to be certain drugs involved and stuff like that. We'll see. But it'd be at the right part of summer vacation.
What kind of drug? Like Ozempic or something like that?
Well, we had David Payton of Pilot on the show.
I was going to say,
Yeah, we
had
did.
the guy.
He could have sung the jingle for us. But it's a great new album, though, but it's on Big Stir, which we love. Great label. I just want to run the little banner across the bottom. If anybody needs to look for bigstirrecords.com and look at Sparkle Jets UK box of letters, which is out, CD, vinyl, download. Big Stir Records.
John Borak came up to do his IPO show on Saturday with the Dons. He was wearing the Sparkle Jets shirt that was modeled after Endless Summer, which now I have to buy. You obviously, Mike, everybody who knows you knows what a huge Beach Boys freak you are. And I wanted to play a song from the new album that obviously has a strong Beach Boys influence. and that would be Princess Needy, which also was on an IPO compilation a while ago. And it's one that you sing lead on. And yeah, I just think it's a brilliant song and deserves to be played. So without further ado, here we go. Princess Needy by Sparkle Jets UK from Box of Letters.
Maybe she's insane, but I think it's more that she's vain.
I bet she thinks the song is about her.
She'll make points with you, but make no mistake, the payback will accrue. How dare the rest of us make her sad? How dare the rest of us have a plan? Don't you people know the world revolves around her? She tries to be kind, she tries to be nice, but it's all about her, so she don't think twice. She thinks a million times more than you and me. Princess Needy. She thinks she's pretty wise, wonders why we don't sympathize.
Grass is always greener.
She hopes that someone cares, but she's just dancing in our crosshairs. How dare the rest of us make her sad? How dare the rest of us have a plan? Don't you people know the world revolves around her? She tries to be kind, she tries to be nice, but it's all about her, so she don't think twice. She thinks a million times more than you and me. Princess Needy.
She's gonna tell everybody about it. She's gonna tell everybody about it. She's gonna tell everybody about it. She's gonna tell everybody. Oh yeah.
How dare the rest of us make her sad? How dare the rest of us have a plan? Don't you people know the world revolves around her? She tries to be kind, she tries to be nice, but it's all about her, so she don't think twice. She thinks a million times more than you and me. Princess Needy.
She's gonna tell everybody about it. She's gonna tell everybody about it. She's gonna tell everybody about it. She's gonna tell everybody.
Yeah. Hey, John. Yeah. Obviously, you know, you got that sounds inspired opening, but then there are a couple of very strong 70s signposts, like using the "You're So Vain" line. Thinking the song is about you, and then of course the ELO-ish disco part.
Yep.
In the middle. Yeah, just an amalgamation of sounds, and you know, really, really brilliant. What was the concept? What was the origin of that song?
Oh, gosh.
He forgot.
There you have it.
Mike forgot.
Well, Mike, we really were complaining about a couple of people who remain nameless, and then more people got added to the list, and we had a lot of attributes to.
Yeah, it just kind of took a.
Isn't anything I could have done to inspire that song? It's okay.
I was going to say it was about you if you really pressed the issue. So, but yeah, you know, just sometimes people are a little, well, it's a little much. So,
Little
but it
needy,
really was,
maybe?
well, more like just wanting to take control over things for no reason.
Right.
But it's not really it's an amalgamation of folks. It's nothing specific. And yeah, it just kind of was a dumb thing I was working on. I was actually up a kind of sequestered away, working on things and working on tracks, and I had a little crummy piano, like a portable thing, and just kind of I remember talking to Susan on the phone about it. I had my little lyrics book and I was playing the piano parts, and then I kind of went back and demoed it out, and yeah, I remember working on it. But I think they were supposed to come and join me, but the weather was icky or something, and they couldn't quite make it up where I was.
You mean Jamie and Susan?
Yeah.
Okay.
Most of our recording a lot of times takes place at his grandmother's cabin that's up in Crestline Lake Gregory area.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard about that.
Yeah, it's cool.
We
Sometimes
were,
we would not use our own studio and be there just because our studio was so full of people doing other things.
Right.
It's weird, but it happened.
Yeah, as we're listening to that track, guys, I was putting up the graphic of the album cover. Can you give me a little explanation of how this album cover came about, and what are some of the things you got going on in here? It almost looks like something out of Davy and Goliath Saturday morning television, as far as just graphics are concerned. It's really interesting to me.
Well, that kind of happened. It takes a long time to get, even once you've finished an album or you decide, let me go make art or whatever. It did take us a long time from making it to you guys seeing it. So that was made like almost 2 years ago, I think, when AI generation was just a thing. We all know what it looks like now, but I didn't really have the time or energy to set up a specific thing where I'm like, I just want it to be like an attic with a bunch of old stuff in it, and we just come up with the song Box of Letters. So wanted to illustrate that a little bit. So a lot of that was just I did a bunch of AI generative art and kind of picked the most interesting one, and then I went in with Photoshop and put a lot of our band Affirma all around in the image, just to kind of like, so there's like a poster of us on the wall and letters on the floor and records and framed things and instruments and stickers and stuff all over in there. So it's just kind of an album cover should have some things for you to discover in it if you can get away with it. It's kind of a fun thing to look at. So
Yes, it is. Yeah,
It was
go
It
ahead.
was a real collaborative effort. Once we saw Mike's AI artwork, basically Susan and I were talking, and we started talking about memorabilia of the band.
Right. Well, you and asked us for different bits and pieces to send to you, and we did. And then we just kind of you actually had us all sit around and pick and choose, and then all of a sudden it got beautiful.
yeah, I was just going through the computer and finding little bits of stuff and throwing it around, and the other, there's other panels of the art that have even more of that stuff, and a lot of pictures. So like overhead shots of like what's right here, like the ground with a bunch of photos and letters and handwritten stuff. Just kind of, I don't know, it's of a theme. It's a little bit of a mess. Our other stuff was always so stark, kind of.
But it's a great mess because everything in there is really sentimental. There's all kinds of iconic little images that are definitely Sparklejet's history, ranging from our son's little drum kit with the I Love Sparklejets on it, to a surfing monkey from one of the first songs, and
From a band trip.
from a band trip. So there's tons of little things, including Mike's Tone Master, one part of his stack.
And a very fake guitar, and there's one of Anne Bray's little sketches of us sitting on the floor.
Anne Bray being Severo's wife.
That's right.
Yeah.
I love it. The music is first and foremost with anything, which is wonderful. But when you hold the vinyl in your hands and you've got something which takes me right back to the 70s, when collecting, records, and boy, you studied the album art, you studied the front, you studied the back, and anything that might be inside with sleeves, and I like it. I really like that you put some thought into it,
And
Well,
there's
that part's just as fun as the music part to me.
it's really good.
Everybody.
and there is a box here that looks like it contains letters. So tell
Oh,
us
yeah.
about the box of letters. Is there a significance there?
Jamie, go.
Well,
Jamie.
yeah, the song Box of Letters, I wrote the rough tracks of it and gave it to Mike up in the cabin, real close when Princess Needy was happening. And I never really do lyrics. I rarely do lyrics, and I always sing melodies. And they don't get real as excited about that because they usually come in with lyrics in their music. So it was later I wanted to do this song, and so I just forced myself to write some lyrics. And it just coincided that I had found a box of love letters that I had received from Susan way back, and it was coming up on our wedding anniversary. And
She's
so
gonna punch you.
and a big milestone anniversary. So I wrote a very soppy, sentimental bunch of lyrics. And then what did you do to the lyrics, Susan?
I enhanced them, Jamie.
Susan Camp, she always has this sass that's it's endearing, and it's part of Susan's personality. So it was like they went to work on my lyrics, and they changed. It kept the flavor of it, but it had some surprises at the end.
Had some surprises all throughout, I think.
Well, Susan's
Wait,
not
so-
gonna sing something that straight.
Yeah.
That's that sentimental. There's just no way she's gonna do it. And I
Right.
could just tell she was kind of like, we were gonna make her sing this because we wanted her to sing it, and she was just kind of. I could tell she was pissed. So it was just kind of like, well, maybe we just, and it just tweaked it enough to where she was happy, because Susan's really happy. If you're suffering just a little bit.
So what we're hearing is that Jamie needed some enhancement. Okay.
Well, like he's saying, yeah, I don't write lyrics. Like, this is a typical what Jamie's song would have sounded like when he brought it to me. Da, 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 da. Does that sound about accurate?
That's right.
Good.
Yeah. Well, what he would have way fancier chords than that. They would all be like these weird. I can't. No, actually, I can't. I don't understand those kind of chords.
Jamie knows more chords than anybody in the band. It's true.
That's right.
Wow. Well, it just so happens that I have that track queued up here. And
Oh,
it is
no.
the title track of the album. So I think people need to hear it. So here we go. Box of Letters by
Hope you don't mind if I
Sparkle
practice.
from their brand new album
Practice away.
titled Box of Letters.
It was a long, long time when the story started. Way back, I remember you would drive downtown just to come and see me. Do you still remember when I close my eyes? It's like we're still just standing there. But there was one surprise
Yeah, what a cool song. We love it.
Good song. I have to ask because it's been racking around my brain for the last week listening to this album nonstop. Has anybody said to you guys that song sounds like another song? I mean, like because it's something bothered me. That da 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 da, and it's sticking in my head. Maybe it's just because that song is so damn good. It's got to sound like something else. But I don't know if anybody said anything to you about.
I have not heard any. I couldn't hear anything in particular, but there were a couple of guitar breaks in there that reminded me of Sweet Judy Blue Eyes.
Oh, well,
I'm sure that, and that might just be me, but I
No,
heard
that might just be Jamie.
yeah, no. But when we were deciding on what was the lead-off single, Marty Beal, who's our guitarist, he just said, he goes, it's got to be Box of Letter. He goes, the thing is nonstop hooks.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and I think that's what it is. There's just so much going on there that just sounds so hooky, like you've had to have heard this before, which I think is a good thing, because it's very familiar in all good ways. But it's been driving me crazy. Like, boy, it sounds like something, but it's probably just because it sounds so damn good. So that's.
I just like the sweet concept too of a box of letters. I have to explain it to some of the kids at school what that means.
Oh, right.
And letters, box of things like that, because they just, yeah.
Well, yeah. 20 years from now, it's going to be an inbox of text messages from you.
Could be now.
But
I don't know what it's going to be 20 years from now. I mean, we could ask Mike because he'd probably be a good prognosticator. But I
can't imagine
what we're going to be doing in 20 years.
Hey, Susan, I got to ask her because David had said it earlier in the show about you not needing a microphone. Just go ahead and blast. Amazing voice, great voice. Just cuts through like a knife, clear as a bell. Right on the button. Where'd the voice come from? Did you sing from an early age all the way through school and always been doing it? Or?
Everybody in the family that we always were raised with music, and if you want to be heard, you gotta be loud. And sometimes we were. I've been in bands before where we were asked to play for 4 or 5 hours. So if I couldn't do that, I guess I wouldn't have been in the band. So I'm blessed.
Were you able to do that performance wise from a young age and through school, or did it take till you got into bands later on and that you found that projection of the voice and power?
I think I've always had it, but in school there was choir, there was musical theater, there were bands, and then my dad would say to me, because my dad was a guitar player, an old blues guitar player, he goes, when you're doing those musicals, you get one song, but when you're in a band, you can sing all the songs. And so then the light went off, and then I got to sing more.
He was a wise man.
Yes.
Yeah. Outstanding.
He once told me, Mike, do you want to know how to lose 10 pounds of ugly fat?
Oh, God.
Cut off your head.
Oh, that one. Oh.
He said that to me too, though. So, that means he likes you.
But Susan's always been a chameleon with her voice. Like when I first met her, what was your ad that you placed in the recycler? One before I met you and your band, I had an ad in the recycler that said, "Girl singer available. My influences were Aretha Franklin, Elvis Costello, X, and Ronald Reagan, and my father."
I knew there had to be some soul in there, Susan. No doubt about it.
Ronald Reagan, right? Yeah.
So we were at that point. We were in a new wave band called the Young Moderns. Used to play at all the like Madame Wong's and those kind of places. And then after that, Susan, we put a wedding band together, and so we started doing a bunch of Stax record songs. And everyone in the band was floored because she would sing these Otis Redding songs and all of these soul songs and just nail it.
Yeah,
well, there was a point in college when somebody said, "What kind of music do you want to sing? Would you like to sing?" And I said Stax and all those kinds of R&B songs and things. And they said, "Oh, you can't do that." No. And so that when someone tells me that, I love that. That just gives me the power
Oh,
So
why did they say you can't do that? Because you were a woman?
I don't know, maybe because it was no, just because it was a Orange County college. What's the need for that? What you want to do that? Oh, that's weird.
Well,
Uh,
she also got exposed to that stuff at a really early age because her father played in rhythm and blues bands way back at the beginning of rock and roll, and kind of would
Wow.
show her a whole bunch of music. But he also put another twist in her voice: is he would do all of these rhythm and blues things, but then he'd make photocopies of what?
There was just a lot of country standards, and then thrown in with Jesus Christ Superstar, and then all of a sudden
But
got
yeah,
my
he'd
name.
make 20 copies of like Take the Ribbon from My Hair. And so Susan got all of these twangy country things. So you'll hear that twang sometimes in her voice. You'll hear the R&B in her voice. You'll hear the new wave punk stuff in her voice. But then she also does a killer Ethel Merman.
That I believe.
Yes, it's true. I was in
Someone
there
else who
at the
didn't need a
time.
microphone. Yeah.
But yeah, what a great voice though. Just
So you two are playing in bands. When do things start getting romantic?
You want me to do it? You do.
What? Oh,
Or have
go ahead.
they?
Go ahead,
27 minutes ago.
It was kind of like really corny. But well, first of all, we would go to the 49er, which was a little bar that was close to our rehearsal studio, and we'd hang out and just get to know each other. But I don't know, when we did a couple songs with harmony, and it's looking right into each other's eyes, and it was over after that point.
That's
Oh,
beautiful.
I thought it was when you gave me your ATM numbers.
No, that happened after marriage.
Yeah, that's when everything else stops.
She really wasn't a real smart ass when we were dating either. She was quite like petite and demure.
Well, that's how it works. And then once she traps you, you know, then the truth comes out.
Oh, that's
Hey,
good.
Mike, were you from a musically oriented family?
Not really. My grandmother, I think both of my grandmothers knew how to play. One of them I never knew until one day I was supposed to be practicing and I didn't want to. And she said, "How hard can it be?" And she sat down and played it. And I was like, "Oh, I guess she does know how to do that." But you're not really, not in the same way. No.
Yeah, but your grandma Ruby's responsible for when you were like what,
Sure.
4 years old, taking you record shopping because you sound
Yeah.
like
She always,
Wow, what a cool grandma.
since I
and
was
then
2. Yeah.
since you were 2, and then also helping you buy your first equipment.
Yep. No, she did. They were just asking if I would think he meant if they played and whatnot. But
Well, they
yeah,
played
as far as
some
that, sure.
But she was a supporter because got your drum set and your recording gear, and you
Yeah.
took it.
You know,
So
she bought
drums
me
were
a
your
guitar
first
when I
in-
was a kid.
Drums were your first instrument?
Well, I mean, I had like little, like kind of like secondhand inoperable instruments kind of laying around since I was about 5, like a drum set that just had a bass drum and a broken snare and nothing else, you know, and like one stick that was broken, and a guitar with one string on it and things like that I actually started using when I got in high school because I'm like, I really want to make music. I didn't have much. I had a piano and then I had this beat up junk and I started recording things and it was pretty sad. But if it weren't for those little things, I would have really had nothing to play with. But I didn't really have like an older brother or any friends that did it. So that would have probably helped. I would have got a little head start. But I always have had records. Like she said, when starting around when I was 2. I mean, my earliest memory of life is sitting in my little bedroom when I think I was about 2. Because it had to be, because I remember the house we had moved out of there not long after, but just I had a record player in my room. I could probably not hardly talk or walk around much, but I had my 45s and I would play them. My
You
first
remember what they
45
were?
was Beautiful Sunday by Daniel Boone.
Which
So-
you've covered with Pop Dudes.
Right, which is probably why, yeah. But yeah, I had a stack. I used to throw the sleeves away because I had this giant Tinker Toy it was like a spindle. I used to put all my 45s on a pair of spindles. And it was really fun. I loved records. And then when I was 5, they gave me a little cassette recorder, and I used to make tapes and tape the songs off the crummy record player and take them in the car and listen to them. And so I've always been kind of like you guys all probably did.
Well, I didn't buy my first record until 1975. I was already 17. I was late to the table, but I was recording off the radio since I got my first cassette player 4 years earlier. WABC was the station in New York, and I loved the top 40, so I would record stuff off of that, and until finally I got a stereo in the mid 70s, and then started buying actual physical product. But certainly recording things, waiting for them to come on, sometimes being a little late. I can remember a few tapes where
that little sound that would like you're
exactly.
in the middle of the intro.
Right. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Or you'd wait all day long for them to play, whatever they're going to play, something on K-Rock, and you'd be waiting there all day, just like, I have to pee, and then you're finally like, I can't take it anymore, and you'd go to the other room to pee, and then that song would come on. Of course.
No, I remember recording it "Don't Come Easy" and hearing that sound you just made, because I was just a little bit late to the.
Yep. I have
It's the best in the world.
I was going to say I've seen a video, a Super 8 footage from Christmas 1975, where like 4.5-year-old me is like, I'm not even in school yet. I'm coming down the stairs, and my parents would usually have like this giant spread of Santa stuff, and you can see me look right past all the cool stuff, and like they got me, I think, a bicycle and a couple other big items. I just ignored all those things, and I made a beeline for my first rock LP, which was my own personal copy of not Hard Day's Night. Oh Lord. Hot August Night,
wow,
which was a favorite of mine on the 8-track in the Datsun 280Z, but I had my own now, so that was quite a moment, and it was all perfect. It was shiny, still had the shrink on it. You could see it it's all, because now that thing is just like it's gray. It's a mess,
right?
But you know what? We wouldn't have. I don't think we'd trade any of that experience of all of that for anything in the world. I mean, young people today, I try to describe how the struggle, but how great the struggle was. I mean,
that's part of it. I think I don't know. There's no one's going to ever be able to really tell you how it feels both ways, because, a big part of our lives was like, oh, I like 10cc now. I'm going to spend the next 5 years finding every goddamn B-side or whatever that ever existed. And then I have to make sure I get them on CD, because, vinyl's not going to suffice. And now, of course, it's the other way around. It's like, oh, I must find everything on wax, and they don't have any of that, because they just hear one song and go, that was cool.
Yeah.
Here's everything. Which is nice that you can do that, but I mean, do you really? It has no value when it doesn't cost anything. It doesn't even take any effort.
If you didn't work for it, I mean, there was something about working for it, finding it, grabbing that physical thing. Can't wait to get the heck home and put it on, because the anticipation was great.
There's probably some truth to that, but you know what? Every generation tells the generation after them the same thing. We really had to work for our money. We had to work for this, that, and you guys are just lazy. But, I mean, I can tell you stories about my record collecting days in the late 70s and early 80s, and even now, and they mean a lot to me, but nothing will ever mean more to me than the years 1970 through 74, when I was listening to top 40 radio, before I bought records, before I was listening to album rock. And my former friend Grossberg, who of course, made me tapes in order of January 1970 through December 1974. It took him 3 years to do. It was all chronological, most of the top 40. My whole life would flash before my eyes when I would listen to that. Some bastard stole it out of my car, thinking it was a.
Oh.
I had them in big cassette carrying cases. They probably thought they were CDs, so they stole them out of my car, drove away. Once they saw what they were, they probably threw them out because it was just homemade cassettes they couldn't sell. That's like one of the biggest losses. But I'll tell you, those songs will always be the soundtrack of my life and will always bring back memories and emotions that are I just check, good and bad. You know, I mean, I don't mean to monopolize this, but school was really hell for me in 6th and 7th grade, especially. So I would go, you know, as soon as I got home, I turned the radio on and I would escape into that.
And it was good stuff.
Oh my God!
Thankfully.
Well,
Oh, yeah.
I
I had
mentioned your generation, and it was really nice that what Mike has done. When we the first time we played IPO Liverpool, we took a bunch of high school kids there. And what was fun is while I'm wanting them to go to these museums and stuff, Simmons has nothing to do with that. He says, no, we got to go check out the record stores. And he turns all of these kids into record collectors by the visits to IPO Liverpool.
Well, I would have to argue with some of the kids going to Liverpool. Like there would always be a couple that were like, let's go to the Beatles Museum on the wharf. And I'm like, instead of maybe taking the bus to go see Mendips or Forthland Road. And it's like, wait, you'd rather see a fake thing than the real thing. And then we would take them there and they would just run through the entire thing and not look at anything. Just walk through it and go, that kind of sucked. It's like, well, what have you learned, kid? I mean, but you know, we used to do little seminars before we'd go, like, by the way, this is why we're going. This is why it matters. And when you hear us talk about this, here's the reason. And, you know, and there would be 2 or 3 kids that kind of figured it out. But that's kind of why I still like to do that job because, you know, if I create a couple new fans of really good music, that's really the goal, you know, because if they're going to be creative and maybe write songs, I need them to have heard what good songs sound like before they start writing their own, because all of my songs, like you said, oh, this sounds like the 60s, this sounds like the 70s, and it sounds like ELO and this and that. And it's like, well, duh, because it's so deeply embedded in me. I don't have to think about it. It's just, it comes out like that. If anything, I'm lazy. I would put more of that if I could.
I think it's so deeply embedded in all of us sitting here on this and a lot of people watching the show. So therefore, we get the references. I think the interesting thing would be younger people who do not get the references liking the music for what it is without a reference point. You know, that's where a light bulb go off and you go, then you would understand the reference points when I start talking about it. You know.
One of the things about the kids now is that they do have access to everything. So they're a little less jaded and they don't identify with their music, doesn't identify their personality as much as it used to, which is a little bit of a bummer when I think about how our lives were. That was a big part of our identity.
Yeah.
So they're missing that. But on the other hand, if they still did that, like they did maybe 20 years ago when I first started doing this, they were identifying with music still, and it was crap. I mean, seriously. And like I'm dealing with trying to teach a music class with kids with their hats on backwards, and you know, if you were lucky, Limp Bizkit was their favorite band because that was probably the most musical thing that any of them were listening to. But there's always kids that can appreciate quality when they see it. So now it's like they get fed, the algo feeds them all this stuff, and they kind of know when something's good or not, and that's what they gravitate toward.
If they're listening at all, I have a
do.
glimmer of hope every now and then. You deal with the music side of the kids. I deal with all the kids of all the different performing arts. So they were we had kids in that were from orchestra, musical theater, and acting. They were all in my office and they were volunteering. They were putting labels on postcards or something. And one kid had earphones in. I'm going, hey, what are you listening to? Whatever you're listening to, we all want to listen to it. What music is it? It wasn't music.
No, it was a podcast.
No, it was just some dumb show.
Oh.
It was just a show. It was, yeah, it made me sad.
But we have done a good job by exposing so many kids to music.
Yes, you have.
We have
You
kids
really
that,
have.
that Pet Sounds is their favorite record because of the being involved in
Amen.
the show. And we've got kids that are ripping it up in the industry. In fact, the three of us were in Vegas just the other day, and we went and saw the Donny Osmond show, and the lead guitarist was one of our students.
No way.
Oh,
Wow,
nice.
that's wonderful.
Wow. Wow, that's cool.
Well,
Mike,
tonight
Mike,
we're doing that,
Mike-
so we're
Mike,
going
you were
to see 'em.
talking. You were talking earlier about music being crap from the last 20 years or whatever, but it's funny because obviously every generation seems to think that the generation after them, their music is crap. I mean, Jamie
No.
Vernon loves to tell me about, Jamie, of course. He loves to tell me about what his parents thought of the Beatles. His dad said, it sounds like 3 simultaneous fire engines going by my house. I mean, that's so hard to imagine, but yet that's how he heard it.
Yeah, and he probably was a music fan too. That's why he was so, upset by it. Probably because
Yeah,
he
but I
really
mean-
had a good taste. He had taste in what he liked. And I didn't mean. By the way, I did not mean that all music sucks. I am not that guy at
Yeah.
all. I'm saying those kids 20 years ago were listening to little this or little somebody or whatever, and that's what I'm talking about. I'm not. There is always good music. There's better music now than ever in the history of the world, probably right now. That's
I
brand
don't
new.
know.
today.
Why do you mean that people are making that? Why do you say that?
Because it's just the numbers. Like the technology makes it easier for everybody to do things. Just and I know it's there. It's just impossible for anyone to be heard. Even established artists are starting to realize that the way that the algorithms are feeding is changing all the time. And just in the recent year or so, it's changed so dramatically that even if you had a buzz going, it's completely random. It's not controllable or steerable in any way. It's just there's just a world of stuff, not good, not bad, just stuff. And there's good in there. There's lots of bad in there, but there is no mechanism for either business people, nefarious or otherwise, or tastemakers really of any kind to really steer the zeitgeist towards a specific or any kind of good music. It's just a matter of random, what do you find? And one kid will find something and somebody else will find it. But there's no, you know what I mean? We have no bellwethers for taste now.
No, we don't. And you're talking more about pop and power pop bands that are underground who are still doing great music, and part of that is because the technology is there when it didn't used to be for somebody to do it at home. But I'm talking about now what's on the charts, what mainstream kids
What
are
charts?
Yeah.
What charts? Tell me about. Explain to me what charts there are. Do you know what I mean?
What did I?
hearing. They
really
still
a thing.
exist. There's still a Billboard Top 100, right?
But it's probably, and I would dare to say it's all BS because it's not really based on anything specific anymore. I mean, it's just kind of. I mean, we could go all day talking about that, but it's.
Oh yeah.
But no one has the answers. I guess the end result. Like you ask anyone, and they just kind of go, "Well, we don't know. We don't know what to do about any of it." And that's people from probably the most powerful music mogul in the world to some schlub that's writing songs on his computer.
Now, because you're in high, you're teaching the high school kids, so you know a lot about what they're thinking. I heard recently that in the last 5 years on the Billboard charts, whatever they are, only about 5% of the songs that hit the top 20 were by bands. Everything else was by a solo artist and a duo. Do you find that a lot of kids today just have no interest in being in a band or even learning an instrument because it can all be done via computer?
Well, I mean, I think it's the people that want to do this, that they have to see that what it is. I mean, I know from my own personal experience, I listened to all those records, like I said, from the very earliest of age. I didn't really understand how any of that worked for a long, long time till I was pretty old. I mean, I really didn't start to put 2 and 2 together about how how music was done, that you need a bass player. And what does the bass player do? I mean, I literally did not figure this out probably till high school. And I really cared, and I was trying to make my own music, but I had no idea. Because there was no one to tell me. And I think a lot of kids are in that position. I mean, if that's the problem, if they're not seeing a representation in the mainstream of what a band is and what it should be or what it can be, how are they going to think, wow, I want to do that? It's really hard.
Yeah.
Well, our environment is kind of different of what we've done because we've been doing this for 20 years in the education arena and not doing band and choir. We've created a gazillion bands in our community. In fact, all of the people that are playing out at a lot of the clubs, they're all our former students. So if there was more of an emphasis on doing this kind of music in schools rather than just the traditional band or choir, you would find a lot more bands.
Nice. Yeah. Oh, I agree. I'm sure.
This is the bill tonight. Tonight at 6, if you're in Southern California, that's all bands that came out of our program. And most of those are mostly commercial, cover bands
all
that are
really good,
out
they're
making
good
money.
cover bands.
Nice.
There's I think 3 original projects in this batch. One of them is us, but yeah, and a lot of our kids are doing really well. It's just we've made enough of these things and had enough shows that sometimes kids would come because their cousin or their neighbor was there. And I've talked to a lot of them that came to a show of ours when they were 4 and saw what we did and thought, I want to do that. So it's a microcosm, but we are like a tiny little bubble of the Ed Sullivan Show 1964 every time we do a show. Hopefully that's the idea.
Have you guys spoken to other schools and tried to encourage them to enact a similar program?
It's not a popular conversation with traditional band and choir teachers and educators.
Because they don't know how to do it. But there's also something, the chemistry of our program is almost impossible to replicate because basically you have Sparkle Jets UK created a rock and roll program at a high school. And without the genius of Simmons and my nonstop schmoozing and promoting and Susan's nonstop developing kids, it just wouldn't have been quite the same. And fortunately, our program continues now because we've trained incredible students that are now running it.
Right.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, the other programs just don't have people in the same sphere with your knowledge, so they couldn't run it that way if they wanted to.
Their musical hearts and their heads are not in the same place.
Yeah,
You will not find the Beatle love every place.
It's because these people that took classes that did music in school to 99.999% of people is literally marching band or choir. That is all there is, or some variation thereof. So when they did that in school, those that went on to further education to maybe get into education as a career, that's the music that they understand. That's the system that's in place. When you're a new teacher and you go to a school, you're going to be taking over the band or the orchestra or the choir. That is what's there. And I'm sure there's been a few other people like Jamie who visioned doing it different. Usually what they do, if at all, is they will just change the material they do. They'll say, well, we're not going to do classical. We're not going to do jazz. We're going to do something contemporary. We'll throw some rock songs in. But what they end up having to do is it still conforms to the system that they've built. Like there's sheet music and everyone's doing it by rote. Whereas we came in not knowing how to do any of that really. And we're just like guys that were in a band that used to learn how to play in a garage. And we teach our kids to kind of work that way. We don't give them sheet music or anything. We just say, here's, here comes the sun. You're probably going to need a capo for that. Figure it out. The timing's weird. Good luck. And they just take it home like we used to do. And they come back and it's kind of there. And we go, almost. Try this. Okay. And over the course of 6 weeks, they've got it figured out. And that's what we do. And then there are more of us, but there aren't a lot of teachers that did what we did. Or even if they wanted to, there's no help for them. They don't have an infrastructure for it.
But when you have that traditional kid and then they come over and they are with what you guys do too. It makes for a powerful
Real
musician
powerful.
when they develop their ear and they open their mind to all those musical experiences, and then they can also read and be a part of both worlds.
Yeah,
That
that's
would
what
be
we want.
that's the goal. That's the goal.
Well, I have to say it's really paid dividends. I haven't seen all your shows, but recently, my wife Rena and I came down to see your ELO performance. And let me tell you, for those of you who are watching and have no idea, have never been to one of them, this was absolutely amazing. I mean, a huge orchestra, lots of background singers, everything was absolutely perfectly executed. And it's by these young kids who, they probably, I mean, I think about it. ELO to them chronologically is what, like about 40 something years old. 40 something years before I was in high school, we were talking about Rudy Valley.
Yeah, and so it's completely out of time for them. It doesn't really matter. It's just a thing, and we go, we're doing this, and then they listen to it. They kind of go, okay, or like, oh, I've heard that one song, and then there's this weird thing where they'll kind of go, and I go, just give it a minute, and then they come around eventually. Like the hardest, weirdest songs are usually the ones that are really out there, and the kids will come. They'll either right in my face complain, or they will complain. I'll hear about it through the grapevine. So and so really hates their song. Okay, that's the kid that by the end of the process is going to come up to me crying and going, "Thank you for giving me that song.
Wow.
I really love it now, and it showed me a whole bunch of things I didn't know." I mean, we had for that ELO show, we had the string section there, but like we had to go through the process of figuring out how to do that, because I don't know how to do that. I don't know. We had to get some people to help us. I did some of it where I put it in the computer and tried to play the parts, and then somebody that knows sheet music would translate that into paper things. And it was all, and we had to build a choir, which we'd never done, because there's choir all over those ELO records.
Sure.
So it's very odd. But that's just one show. We do 3 of those a year, plus a lot of other things. And we'll be doing, we're going to relaunch the Beatles 60th anniversary series. We did 50th anniversary 10 years ago. We're
Right.
going to start doing those again in the spring. So
And that's a big
1965.
fundraiser.
Yep. So if you want to see some, when we do the Beatles shows, we do like, we're going to do every song they did in 1965.
Wow.
Outtakes, bootlegs, songs they gave to other people. Anything that they went into the studio or touched in 1965 is in that show.
As long as you skip What Goes On.
Ah,
Oh, no, that's 66 anyway. I'm just kidding.
It'll, when its turns comes, it will be there, because that's
No, I know.
that's-
I'm just
you know,
teasing. What
having
do
to
you,
teach some kid to do what's the new Mary Jane, or my name,
Yeah.
look up a number. We did it. But we did
We,
it.
we couldn't have, though, you know my name. There was no way the kids could pull that off. So we actually had Mike Simmons and Kenny Howes doing that song in front of the
that I could see that.
Vocal
Jay-
wise, they still had to play all the stupid stuff in the
Yeah.
background.
What do you see? What's the biggest difference you see in kids from when you first started the program like 20 years ago and kids today?
Better
Is there-
GPAs.
Yeah.
We used to be in kind of the kids that were just on the outskirts were part of the program at first, and now we have everybody. We have the kids that go to the best schools, that go to the best colleges, the 4.0s, the 5.0s. So there's that.
You're right. When I started, they would always introduce my program as I'm the guy that works with the at-risk kids, meaning the ones that are gonna, quit school. And we had some pretty, rough around the edges kids, but now it's such a popular program that we get the cream of the crop.
that's
And the
awesome.
parents have spent a lot of money on lessons, and there's a bunch of people that make their money teaching kids how so they can get into our program.
Yeah, there's a lot of rock school of rock type places all around our campus
Right.
to prep the kids, because we don't actually, at least for our after school program, we don't teach them how to play. They have to kind of already know that before they get there.
I see.
Yeah,
But if they really are starting from the very beginning, we also have some of the
we have
APA
ways to do
teachers
that.
that are we'll teach a high school class, the beginning and intermediate
Yeah,
guitar
we have a guitar
classes.
class that teaches all those basics.
And with the history too.
Yeah, with
and
the
it gets
history.
them pumped up and makes things possible.
It's just
Yes.
fantastic.
I'll
Yeah.
tell you, some of those kids are insanely talented. I mean, seriously.
Well, the world's
Yeah.
full of talented people. It's just a matter of, have they tried that thing that they're good at?
Right.
Who knows?
It's a good point. Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
good point.
Have you ever played guitar, David? You might really be good.
I might be. In my
See?
dreams, I actually am. I can't tell you how many times I've physically dreamed about like going on stage during somebody's IPO performance, grabbing their guitar and being really good at it and like saying to myself, wow, how the hell am I doing this? So
He's
who
got
knows?
a whole rack of air guitars right behind him. I don't know if you can see it or not. Yeah. He's
I
got quite
actually I own one real guitar. It was one that on my 40th birthday, or I think it was
The
my
autographed one?
First birthday, the one that the Dan Electro that Randell Kirsch gave me, and there's a whole bunch of autographs,
Yeah, I think I signed that.
including you did sign it. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's all.
What are you
I
going
own.
to do with this, David?
Yeah, I have no idea how to play, and part of me almost doesn't really want to know. In many ways, the less I know technically about music, the better, because I want music to hit me viscerally. I don't want to know what's good or bad or wrong or anything. I just want to hear it, and let it organically become something I like or not, and that's it. And I figure the more I know, the more critical I'm going to get, and it's going to be, oh, I don't know if I should be liking this. So that's okay. I'm happy with what I'm doing.
It's good. You could be the keyboard player.
Yeah, right. So, by the way, Jamie, you have recently joined a legend in the Southern California region, a garage band called the Emperors. Tell us about that venture.
It actually started because of I knew them in the day in the 70s. We were in competing bands, and they helped us get with their agent. How it came to be is one of our students in our music program was the drummer of the Emperors and singer. So their bass player was getting too old to play, and they asked me to play. So literally the day after I retired from teaching, I started playing with the Emperors. And the lead singer of the band had no idea of what their heritage. He lives in the moment. And when I found out that they were real popular in the garage rock scene, I got super excited. And so recently, Sunday's Record basically contacted me via Discogs and said that they owned the rights to the Emperors. Yeah, there you go.
That's it.
And as soon as I had collected all of the singles on my own, but Steve Watts, the founder of the band, basically gave me the original acetate for I Want My Woman. And I was so stoked about it. And Mike loves this stuff too. So immediately I'm running over to Simmons's house, and he digitizes everything and takes pictures of this book that I have that was a scrapbook from 1964 when they were playing at the Marina Palace. And so between Mike and I, we basically kind of produced the next record that came out, because it's a compilation record.
Yeah. And it's just come out on Sundays, and I still need to review it along with other Sundays releases that have come out recently, because they are really resurrecting a lot of stuff, either obscure albums that did come out or bands who never had an album come out but had a bunch of singles, so they've compiled them. They're doing a wonderful job on that.
Yeah, Jay is the president of the company is a super music fan and just a great guy.
Yeah. Oh, it's not Bob Irwin anymore?
Well, his title shows that. That's the person I dealt with.
Maybe Bob's the chairman. I've never seen, by the way, Bob Irwin, I've never seen a more impressive collection of promo copies of any, I don't care what album it is. He'll have a DJ copy of Highway 61, for example, with a white label and a timing strip and things like that. He's always showing them off. But yeah, they are putting out some amazing stuff. And the Emperors are doing some shows these days around town.
We play so much, and I will go to a show every now and then, and they're packed. they are just packed with old and new
Yeah,
fans.
old and new. And it's fun to have Susan and Mike get up and sit in with us, which is really fun. The Emperor's
Oh,
Family
yeah.
now, it's not like what we don't play like the garage punk stuff. It's a really polished, tight, cover band that plays music from the 60s, 70s, and 80s and one Bruno Mars song.
But you do play some originals, though, right?
Not with that band, really. It's
Oh, no. Oh, wow.
although I was talking with Randy just the other day, and he said, "Well, what if we did, the Beach Boys sounding song "Can't Wait for Summer" on Box of Letters?" And I said, "Yeah, it might be kind of fun."
Yep.
So,
Wow.
That would be
There you
cool.
go.
Better
Mike,
you
I
than
wanted
me.
to Mike, I wanted to ask you this. I mean, you're always on the forefront of a new technology. I remember you were one of the first people who would store your song. You would rip your CDs onto a hard drive, and you had your whole collection on there. And no one else I knew was doing that at the time. And now that AI is coming into fore, you're embracing that wholeheartedly. Did you have a background in computers, or did you just see it, love it, and jump in?
Well, yeah, I was a little bit behind some of my friends with that stuff, but it's like, yeah, once I'd seen a laser printer and saw that, a paper could come out with a font that looked like a font and not a bunch of dots, I was pretty stoked about that. And I've always kind of done design things, and just I was just the right age, just to come up with all that. So I've always just done it. And then I was like, I can't wait to be able to put music in here. So that finally happened. And but I've always been kind of right there with that. Nowadays it's getting really crazy, but I mean, there's even some of that new technology for splitting songs into different pieces that just at home in the machine I use every day. So like, now people give me a song and say like, hey, let's do a cover of whatever, in a few minutes I have the whole thing mapped out. I can change the tempo or the key just like that. I can pull all the pieces out and go, well, let's re-record some parts of this, and then we've still got some of the original sections until they're all there. We use it for rehearsals now. Like if the whole band doesn't show up, I can just mute or unmute any piece of the song, and we just play along with it to make sure we know our arrangement and everything. So technology's kind of cool that way.
but Mike's personality is also a little different than the majority of people, because whatever it is that he gets into, it's like a nonstop marathon session of acquisition of knowledge, and he keeps doing it until he figures it out and then becomes really fast at it.
But this is not limited to music.
No, slot cars,
Everything.
trains.
Painting.
Really?
Painting.
He's painting now. Expect your Christmas present
Badly.
painted.
But I'm getting slower with all these things now. It's just like, oh no, I can't. No, enough. It's hard enough just to control your television, much less anything else at this point.
Yeah, right. Do you see AI as being more harmful than helpful, or
Hell yes. Oh yeah, absolutely. It just really depends. I mean, it all really depends on what we do with it and how we let it progress. But it's already to the point where, I've had people that I know that don't know anything about music just go, hey, check this thing out. I made it. And they put a prompt into a computer and it generated a song that sounds just like it was really done, that has lyrics that actually make sense and rhyme, and has a melody that's kind of not crap. And just like some computer just listening to the rest of the world has copied stuff from 1,000 places and spit out something new. And that's great. That's just somebody messing around with a prompt. But the real issue is that there apparently are guys that even years ago went through and using a computer, they churned out recordings of every possible iteration of music, melody, and rhythm in possibility of existence, and sent them all into the Copyright Office to get trademarked. So you're looking at a reality where any new song that gets written, some jerk who did that a year ago will be able to will be able to run have their bot listening to music. Oh, a new song came out. Well, I already wrote that song, a couple years ago. Here's the proof. And, that's the reality that AI is one of the things that really sucks. I think people are not going to accept the fake stuff for long. The only problem may be that it's already people are able to identify. Kids can very easily identify fake music and AI generated music, but that they're going to probably figure out how to trick those kids in a couple years. So it's really going to be down to, do they care or not? Is it still good? Is
Right.
it not?
Yeah.
Does the human element? Because I mean, I'm guilty of, because I have the tools to really make things good. Because people go like, "Oh man, your record sounds really good. The production's really good." I'm like, well, it's the same tools that I've been using. It's just, I don't let things slide as much as I used to, and part of me is upset and bothered by that, because I don't want to kill the soul of the music I'm working on.
Yeah.
But at the same time, when I hear mistakes, I get really pissed. So it's kind of like I'm already having this battle within my own heart every time I make something. There's people in the world that don't care. And there's going to be people that say, well, I really just like sloppy music. That's what I like.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I don't know. I couldn't really tell you. Probably any and all, and none of those things will be a thing. I mean, that's kind of the reality.
Yeah.
All the things are probably going to happen. So,
And it's
Buckle up.
it's unimaginable too. It's hard to even imagine what's coming, because just with everything in life, I couldn't imagine 20 years ago that this was going to be this way. And we just like you said, buckle up, strap in. Let's see where this ride takes us.
Life has gotten crazy in every single way, and I feel bad for the kids that go. There's no, I can't make money. I can't pay the rent. I can never afford property. It's like, and I think a lot of our generation is, a lot of us are living off of generational wealth and the prosperity of the post-war era. We're still, but we're spending that last nickel.
Yeah,
it's really getting there, and the kids in the future kids, especially once we all stop procreating. I think a lot of us are just going to the grave without kids, and what's going to happen to those resources that may or may not pass down? It's just it's getting real weird for some of the kids, and they're like, well, you want me to work, but work for what? I'm not getting paid enough. I can't survive.
Yeah.
So we're in for either a lot of change or a lot of pain, or both.
Mark,
is
that what's happening with your kids? Are they not being paid enough?
Oh, no one's getting paid
I
enough.
mean, no one gets paid enough. I think they learn the importance and value of what they do have, and not live beyond their means, and enjoy the little things. My youngest, works for Disney World, and she's worked for a few years trying to get to what she really wants to be there. And she sees the writing on the wall, and it's not happening. So she's going back to school to get her teacher certificate so she can teach and have value, with young children, which to her has become important. I don't know. It's weird to be where we are right now. I'm grateful to have gotten to this point and still be doing what I'm doing today. And, it's tough, but when you have kids like mine, they're 29, 25, man, you worry.
And how about Julian, that Jamie and Susan's son? What's he up to these days?
He works at a really cool coffee house where he runs all the open mic stuff that happens. And the name of this place is Jug Band. And so the owner is really in love with that old folk, beautiful kind of music and there's instruments all over. He's having a good time. He's not getting any younger, but he's having a good time.
You know what? That's the biggest thing. If you're enjoying what you're doing, and you can make make it on the level that you're making it. You know, forget about whatever anybody else is doing and the kind of riches they seem to have. Everybody's different. Everybody has their own path. And if you can be happy doing what you're doing, that's 9/10 of the battle right there. You know?
Amen.
Yeah,
David,
really.
did I ever send you Julian's music? That he made an album a few years ago. I don't know. if
No,
you ever
no,
got a
not at all.
copy. I just posted it in the chat there. It's his band was called Moon Orbit Symphony. I think it's on some of the streamers, and I know it's on YouTube because I think I put it up there myself. But
I'm just going to
it's
leave
pretty.
that so
It's
people can
it's
copy
pretty
and
great.
paste if they want.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, it's kind of fun.
Does he have a band that would want to play IPO? Because
Not at the moment, but you know, someday.
you never
Yeah.
know. So what's the future hold for Sparkle Jets in terms of recording, in terms of playing?
Well, we've done a lot of tracks for tribute compilations this summer and different bits and that's. I think I have one new song that can get done, and Jamie said he's got a couple. But you know, it's just it'll probably be another 20 years, but we'll try. We certainly, you know, want to make more stuff. It's just a matter of, you know, it's the older you get, the inspiration is it strikes less and less. And I find with the internet, I can just go online and just dump my guts out, you know, right there and get that satisfaction. Where, you know, 20 years ago, I might have written a song about something.
I think we're busy celebrating the last year of fruitfulness of getting things done. Oh my God, it feels so good to push it out and get it done. You know, this birthing thing. So yeah, we've all got. We are challenging ourselves to where I know that everybody has a little piece of something new that we're working on, but really we're just celebrating we're still celebrating.
Yeah, as it took a long time to get this done, and you know, the bulk of it is, you know, been around for a while. I mean, I think it still sounds cohesive, and
Yeah.
if you didn't know any better, you would not know that.
Right.
There are three of the songs on that are relatively new. I mean, two of them I wrote basically the same day a couple years ago. So that was kind of a quick little moment. And I think Jamie had written part of his song back then, and just kind of we finished it now. And some of these were in that state, like I Can't Wait for Summer. It was the first song of this whole batch, I think, that got started, and I never really finished writing lyrics for it, and the ending was kind of just not really there. And it sat in that state of like unfinished for 20 years until it was like, well, we're actually finishing this now. I guess I better figure this out. And, you know, it probably happened in 5 minutes. You know how it goes. And it turned out really great. It turned out way better than I thought it would. But
I think too, you know, we're trying to live in the moment too. I enjoy our rehearsals that we have. We have these little shows that pop up, and I'm enjoying that. I'm enjoying the band dinners together. I enjoy the camaraderie that we have, and it inspires new material and things along the way too. But I don't know. I like it.
yeah, we're all really busy. It's hard to get everyone in the same room, and some of us are far afield and work funny hours, and you know, school's starting up for me in a few days, so I'm, you know, I'll be dead. And that takes a lot out of me. You know, it's like I kind of live for a summertime when I have a chance to do these things, and thank God that Big Stir, bless their hearts, pushed this album all the way out to July release, because I was kind of mad. I was like, dude, I got to wait for another year? What? Because waiting for vinyl took forever. And then we actually had everything made, and it was like, yeah, that's not going to come out for a year. What?
That really works out. It worked. It's
worked out perfect, because I've been home, and I've been able to do things like this. This would be really hard for me to do in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It would be virtually impossible. So, and we've done a lot of this stuff. I hope we get a few more in, and we've been watching our stuff climb up or incrementally get listened to and looked at and talked about online, and, you know, watching the Spotify numbers climb every day. And we're still really a tiny fish in a pond here, but for us, I think we're doing exceptionally well for a band of our status. I think we've really stepped up a couple rungs on the ladder in the last few
You
weeks.
have. I mean, in the pop scene as it is, you're definitely one of the luminaries. You've been doing this for a while. People love what you've done.
Yeah.
No doubt that your name is definitely set among the upper tier of the pop scene. No doubt about it.
Are they talking about us on the oddities list?
Of course.
That's all I care about. That's all I've ever wanted. Actually,
Well,
I'll
you
tell you
guys-
guys this. I'll
Oh,
tell
go
you
ahead.
this, and this is really important to me. And this is a small goal, but I think all I really ever wanted out of this whole ride was like, for the love of God, somebody make a Wikipedia page for us.
Yeah.
That's all I want. I don't care. I mean, I'd love to have 1 million Spotify subscribers or whatever, but a wiki page would kind of do it for me, honestly. So
Well,
that's
I
I'm
wanna
just calling out to you.
That shouldn't be too hard. I actually had one, and the aforementioned person who made those tapes for me of the early 70s songs decided that he wanted to mess with me. And because he did that, it put a spotlight on the page, and Wikipedia decided to take it down.
No.
Oh.
Yeah. It's been
That
gone now
sucks.
for over a year.
Oh
And
my
I-
goodness.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's a bitch.
Well,
I can see a few of my friends already going, let's put him up and then let's screw it up.
I want to play IPO in Scandinavia. That's
There
the
we
goal.
go. Look at that.
Hey,
Yeah.
well, we'll always have you anywhere that we do it. I mean, Copenhagen was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Stockholm.
do one in the summer and I'll be there.
Well, there's LA, of course.
Yeah.
Oh, so wait a minute.
LA in the
When
winter.
does your school year end?
We're usually done. Susan's usually ready to move about last week of June until about the second week of August.
Damn.
It's a very small amount of time. It's really only about 8 weeks, but
Mike,
Yeah,
you could
we're a
just
little
sing all my
before that.
parts, Mike. You could just sing all my parts. It's
no, I really can't.
No,
I don't
it's
want
not-
to.
Without you, it's not Sparkle Jets.
That's
just
true.
spot.
Well,
I-
anyway,
I
Without
want
you,
every-
it's a solo album.
I want everybody to know what we've been talking about throughout this whole show is the new box of letters, Sparkle Jets UK. It's right there on the screen in front of you. The banner is going to roll across the bottom. It's on Big Stir Records, the wonderful label that are good friends of ours. So bigstirrecords.com. It's floating across the bottom. If you loved what you heard on the show tonight, it's easy to pick up the CD, the vinyl, download, all the kinds of things. Just go out and take care of it. Get her done and pick up this wonderful album, Box of Letters.
The
Sparkle
8-track
Jet-
cartridge.
absolutely.
Each
And let's wave goodbye with another great song from it. And we talked about this earlier, but I mean, the song Love Burn means so much to me. It goes way back. I mean, when you guys were playing IPO regularly, you were doing that song in your set all the time. And then you gave it to us for one of the IPO CDs. And when I hear that song, I mean, memories of IPO's past really flood back. So thank you
And
for
in-
that.
And in the
well-
last couple weeks, it's up to on my phone. It says 9,000 plays on Spotify.
Well,
Nice.
here's the 9,000 first, which won't count on Spotify, but we'll hear "Love Burn" by Sparkle Jets UK from Box of Letters. Here we go.
Thanks, guys.
You know I got a little love burn. It really hurts right here. It mostly hurts when I bend it. So I'm not gonna bend it. I know you know what I'm talking about. You got your own right there. Why don't you peel back your band-aid and we'll compare.
Thanks, Mike.
I've got a heart in my song for you tonight. And if we're all really lucky, it won't see the day of light.
Have a great one, guys. Yes, Susan.
Thank you, Susan.
There it
I
is.
love the ending too.
Yeah, gotta
Nice
love
and cold.
Fantastic. That is Love Burn. That's off of the album Box of Letters, Sparkle Jets UK. Fantastic album. BigStirRecords.com. That's where you can check it out, pick it up, buy it, download it, do everything you got to do to support this great album. So pick it up.
And can people still get the previous albums, or are you all sold out of them?
No, they're available.
Nice.
And Big
Yeah,
Stir,
you should-
they can order through Big Stir.
everyone needs to check out their entire oeuvre. It's really great. And Mike's solo album as well, which
Right.
is
Might
also up there. Yeah.
Might
Great,
even want to
great
look up the
stuff.
word oeuvre too. I know why you're at it. I don't know. But,
Yeah, it's just one of them words.
Jamie,
Um,
thanks so much for being here and spending the night with materialissues.com. And how about you've got the show going on tonight, right?
Yeah, have a great one.
That's
Where's
where
that?
Mike just had to leave for that, and Susan's getting ready for it, and I'm pretty ready.
Where's that show tonight? Jen? Where's it at?
It's at Old World, which is like a German village kind of thing in Huntington Beach, and it's from 6 to 10. It's our music program kind of reunion, and so there'll be bands the whole night long.
Wonderful.
That will be wonderful.
Yeah.
It would
I'd
probably
be
take
here
me.
to check it out.
If I left here right now, I'd probably get there. I don't know when the last band is on. Traffic trying to get to
Probably.
Orange County from here is
It's fun.
brutal. Let me tell you.
Well, thanks again. Have a wonderful evening, Jamie. We appreciate you hanging out here at materialissues.com. It'll be archived, show number 166 for anybody who wants to watch this in the future as well. So
Great.
I appreciate it. Have a great night, my friend.
We will. Bye-bye.
I'll speak with you soon, Jamie. Take care.
Okay, bye, David.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye. Oh, there you go. That was
That was fun. That was fun. They,
thanks,
what,
Carrie. Appreciate you hanging out, Carrie. Good to
what
see
a
you.
great band. I think, in at least to me, I covered pretty much everything I wanted to know. I mean, some of the stuff I already knew because I know them well, but all the stuff I wanted to know, I got out all my questions. And that, that's always a good thing. Doesn't happen all the time.
Really
great
good.
people,
A lot of
great
fun.
band, Sparkle Jets UK. What do we got going on next week?
Well, next week, he might be still hanging out here in the room watching. Carl Caffarelli is going to join us next week. He's got this new book out, The Greatest Records Ever Made. I was just reading through it again today, which is a wonderful, wonderful book on just all great, well, you could say power pop, but pop records in general. If you're not familiar with some of the things, let's say you're not as old school as some of us and may not know it all. What a great read, and great to then go and search out the music he's talking about and listen to it and remind yourself of how great these records are. So that's his new book, The Greatest Record Ever Made. Of course, he does This Is Rock and Roll Radio. So he's always playing great power pop music. That's why he's obviously a fan of Sparkle Jets UK as well. But Carl's going to be here next week, 6 p.m. again, Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific, some really late hour overseas. But it's going to be episode number 167, materialissues.com. Get on over there and, subscribe and tell your friends. And
we really look forward to it. We have some irons in the fire. I don't know if they'll come to fruition by the following week, the 28th, when I will be in Vancouver awaiting the start of IPO. It's like every year we're up there on the Wednesday. There you go, Carl. Well, it's well earned, Carl. So we'll see what happens. There are a couple of people who I really hope we're going to get. They would be awesome guests. People that our listeners are familiar with, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and if not, we've always got Stump the Bash to do. We've got some new music to play. We've got all kinds of things that we
always have each other, Mark.
Yeah, we always have each other.
That's right.
We go together like Ramalama, whatever. But
Something like that.
again, if you subscribe, we drop an email on Monday or Tuesday. Well, you know what's happening on Wednesday. We don't spam you. We would sure love the subscribes, but we appreciate everybody hanging out. All of our friends just being here at Material Issues every Wednesday. So thanks again, everybody. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks so much,
all great friends, and we'll see you next week with Carl Caffarelli. This is Rock and Roll Radio and the Greatest Records Ever Made. His book. Once again, have a great night.
Have a great night, everyone. Great week. Stay safe. Stay well. We'll see you next week.
Love to Rena.
Love to Chess.